And then I'll ask you to turn your videos off and enter etheric space. And then we'll hold ceremony there. I'll ask you to have a conversation with Mother Earth, and then return, turn your videos back on, and we'll just share our experiences, what it was like. Some of you have been my students and been in and out of etheric space 100 times. Some of you, this may be the first time. If you're having problems entering etheric space or finding your way to the fire, speak up. For a guide, I always recommend hummingbird, but I know of at least one woman who said Teresa just reached out, grabbed him by the hand and pulled him in. So whatever happens to work for you. Okay, so for tonight, I'm going to ask you to center yourself and invite your spiritual helpers, however and whatever form those you relate to, and then we'll turn off our videos and enter etheric space, and we'll hold ceremony there. Now, basically, when you go into etheric space, there'll be a fire, and the Earth Mother will be above the fire, or a symbol of her. All of us see that somehow different. Some people might see an image of the Earth itself. Some people might see a Gaia or equivalent. Some people just might see something else. And I don't want to inflict my views upon you. Whatever works best, you will see. And then when you see the Mother Earth, or the symbol that represents her, offer her your energy. Whether you perceive that in terms of love or Reiki or gratitude or something else. I'm a Reiki master, so I tend to focus on providing Reiki, but there are lots of ways of helping people. There are lots of positive energies, and I encourage you to use the ones you're most familiar with and feel the most strongly for. And after you've done that, and then I would ask you to have a conversation with Mother Earth. Especially ask her what you can do to help create a healthier planet in this world that we experience every day today. And then return to normal space. Turn your video back on. And then we'll go around the circle sharing. And the first time around, since we can't see a circle in Zoom, I'll just designate circles and we'll be going around them from my point of view, sunwise or clockwise. And we may go around more than once. So, has anybody got any questions about what we're up to and where we're headed and how we're going to do it? It's a good time to ask. Rise, relax, find the fire, and get there. But I had somebody ask me once, years after we had started this and they had participated, they said, but isn't this all in our imagination? And I said, of course. Whatever gave you the impression that what was in our imagination was not real? and not a seat of power. It's through our imagination that we create. And daydreaming is just a light way of doing it. So I don't know if that'll help or not to start, but don't make this any more complicated than it is. I know you know how to leave your body because you've done that many times. That's your first line of defense almost. Okay? And that may work for you. It's just leave your body and look for the fire.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? The Creator is here with us now, and I invite you to open your awareness to that. Perceive the sacred around you, within this technology. There's no escaping it. The question is becoming aware of it. Relax and center and become aware of the sacred and become aware of your own sacredness. For all of us are indeed children of the great mystery. And thus all of us are also sacred. And as you center yourself, ask for help from your spiritual helpers. Some people, particularly Christians, prefer angels and archangels and sacred figures like Mary, Jesus. Native people tend to think in terms of the four-legged ones, the winged ones, the finned ones. But we all have helpers, all of us. I always chuckle because for reasons I have no clue of. Ganesh, Lord Ganesha is one of my helpers, my chief helper. And I didn't even know what it was when I was first introduced to him. So bring your helpers and ask them, especially those who have something to help create a better world, a healthier world for everyone and everything on this planet, for the entire web of life. And when you're ready, turn off your video and go to the fire in etheric space with your helpers. And when you're there, join the circle around the fire and seek the mother. I find normally she's floating above the fire. Sometimes I see a picture of the earth. Sometimes I see an image of Gaia. Other people see other things that symbolize this whole planet and everything on it. And offer that planet, that mother that sustains us, whatever helps. With that, I'm going to turn my video off. And when I come back, I will start making noises to bring you back to this conscious level. See you in sacred space. Bye bye. Hiya, 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 and start coming back now. Back to Earth. Thank you. All right. Well, I'm going to go around the circle. For me, it's easiest if I follow the list that I have under participants. So I'll start with Meenakshi. Would you like to share your experience?
Okay. Well, it's always, I thought that it's going to be the eagle who takes me in, but this time it was, I think when we had the last Wednesday meeting, somebody had mentioned a very huge bird, and somehow he came for me today. And when we went to the space, it was again where we used to meet earlier, which is like in a, not a prairie, it's like just mountain, a plateau with red rocks, very much like how Sedona is when I'd gone there. And for me, I was not able to see, I didn't make out the faces around the fire. I focused more on Gaia, on Mother Earth and all beings. I like the way that you also make a little bit of a, you mentioned Mother Earth and Gaia separately, because I do see Gaia as a consciousness more than as another word for Mother Earth. And so maybe that's why I was not able to see everyone's faces. I was just feeling the sense, I was just sensing everyone's energy. And I saw, I don't know if it's because of what I was doing earlier before I came for the ceremony today, but I saw a very beautiful balance between people in the Americas today. And actually, more than the US, it's also in the world because of the elections here. Everyone has become very connected, and people's emotions and feelings and thought process, thanks to social media, has now started to go outward and also more inward. People are allowing everything to go in. So I saw that as a very beautiful balance. Rather than a divide, I saw it as a balance. Thank you.
Three?
Who?
Your
Did you
turn
call
to
me?
share? Yes, your turn to share.
I wasn't sure who you said. I'm sorry.
You're in the dark, Teresa.
You told me I live in the dark. I remember you're saying that at one of those meetings. Absolutely. I think you're correct. I guess I need more light in my life. I felt, I guess because of possibly what you said, I always felt like somehow I was with Randall and helping him get to the fire. At first, I think Randall was a little bit afraid of me at first, but just a hair, and I don't know why, but something I've said or done recently maybe, but not really. He was fine, and I just felt like kind of Randall was to my right and I was to the left, and we were around the fire, and I was reassuring Randall that there was nothing that was going to happen to him, that I was there, I would help, I would take care of him, whatever. He was good with that. At first he was like a little, like I said, apprehensive, but then he was fine. And once he got there and got into it, I felt like he said it was cool. And then I kind of just let him be to enjoy or to relax or whatever. When I first got there, I got a message from Kasitawa. He said he was disappointed in my pettiness. So, and then For Mother Earth, I remember asking, because you used to ask, I think, Mother Earth what we were supposed to be doing, and she just said be a guide for others. I was a little surprised at that, but that was fine. And that was about what I remember. I'm sure there was more, but that's the gist of it.
Okay. Randy? You're muted.
That's interesting. Teresa said that because she was the person that I felt connected to there. I didn't really see the fire, but I felt Teresa's presence there, and just a warmer feeling inside. But yeah, Teresa was popped right into my head on there. It was pretty neat. So, yeah.
Cool. No, not cool. Warm.
Like in warm fire.
Yeah. Yeah. Dennis?
I had a interesting experience. It was a very unique fire. It was a square fire, and the flame was blue.
Mm.
And that kind of got me off track. But what really got me off track is, as I was looking further into the fire, I found myself on a horse going through a river with a group of I believe were Native Americans or an indigenous community, either being chased or chasing and going through a river. And I think I fell off the horse because that's when everything just stopped. So that was quite a unique experience.
Okay. I tried to join the circle and I ended up my usual spot, smack in the middle of the fire. It was, no matter how I tried, I was having difficulty joining the circle. I just kept staying in the fire. And I kind of asked about that, and I just got a hug from the Earth Mother. The other thing is that just before I came out, somehow I went back to Tolkien's trilogy. Anyway, it sung in my head, one hoop to bless them all. A takeoff on one ring to control them all. And I thought, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about a hoop for the entire circle, but it was there. So that's where I was. Okay, let's go around again. And one thing I noticed nobody mentioned particularly was their helpers. Does anybody remember who was with them who joined them to go into the circle? Who you asked to join you? And go back to Meenakshi.
Before she starts, what did you say about the hoop for all? I didn't hear what you said. Can you just repeat it?
Yeah, what's the name of the books for the hobbits?
No idea.
Lord of the Rings?
The Lord of the Rings, yeah, the Lord of the Rings. And it has a saying in it, the whole thing is based around the notion that there's one ring that rules all of the various peoples, the dwarves, the elves, the hobbits, the humans. And so there's this poem that ends with, and one ring to rule them all. And when I was in the circle or the fire, this came to me, one hoop to bless them all. And I immediately related those two things. And of course, I love the Hobbits and the Lord of the Rings stories, but I haven't read them in decades. Oh, I thought that was interesting. Any other questions before we go around again? Going once, going twice. Meenakshi, what spirits did you invite, and what ones showed up?
Well, I usually invite, so today was not the usual thing. I thought it would be hummingbird or eagle, but it was this large bird. I thought she's a vulture, but it wasn't. So I don't know right now who it is. I have to speak to her or to him a little bit more. The one closest that's coming to my mind is one from an Indian tale called Jatayu. And so it may have been Jatayu.
Okay. Andy?
I asked Buffalo and Jesus to be there with me, and both of them showed up. And just like on a prairie, the buffalo. So it was really pretty. Yeah.
So where did they go when you saw them, right?
I saw the buffalo. I did not see Jesus. I just saw the buffalo.
But
And
you have a strong sense of him as.
it was just, what was that?
I said you have a strong sense of relationship with Jesus, right?
Yeah. Yeah. As far, yeah. You can just trip me out, but yes. But I did not see him there, but just the buffalo, and it was safe. And Teresa, you know, again, the warm feeling of Teresa being there. It was nice.
Hey. Okay, now, okay. Now the name changed from, I love the way the names switch around. All right, Teresa?
Me?
Yeah,
Oh,
you.
I'm sure I asked Patty for help, as I do often. I was thinking of an animal partway through. I was trying to remember. I think I was thinking of a whale, possibly a sperm whale at one point, and then at the very end, I think I thought of a snake, but I wasn't sure the snake was for me, so I wasn't positive about that. Yeah, I did, but they weren't like prominent. I was just thinking of them at one point.
Wisdom keepers. Interesting. Tanis?
I didn't see any animals, or again, anything else but the square and the blue fire. I'm gonna say the horse has a big influence. For whatever reason, I was crossing the river. But at the end, when you play that second set of music, I was seen through the eye of an animal.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, I was just, as you were asking the question, I was Googling images of different eyes because I have a particular affinity to condors and hummingbirds, but it's not a bird, it's not a horse, it's the eye is a little bit different, but my knowing is that it is an animal behind the animal's eye.
Did you ask any particular helpers to join you in the circle?
Condor, hummingbird.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I related the condor to what Meenakshi was saying. That's I think the largest bird currently flying. I know there have been bigger birds, but I think the condor is among the largest, if not the largest, of all the birds currently on Earth. And when she spoke of a big bird, that was the one I thought of. But I don't know any Indian Hindu mythology either. So, we all come from different spaces. And of course, there's always the Thunderbird. I don't. I don't know how to express myself in this. It's just there are so many helpers. But for me, it almost always comes down to fire. I mean, most of you know me, know that's an important part of my name. And the more I'm beginning to understand it, the more I appreciate the value of it. It's kind of all encompassing. I found it interesting that Tana saw square. That's interesting. And blue. Blue's generally, from Cree point of view, a masculine power color.
Are you wearing blue?
I am. As a matter of fact.
And you mentioned fire, so maybe that's not you.
Well, that's my name. It's the fire in the center of the sacred circle, the entrance to the seventh path. And I've been struggling to really come to complete understanding of that since around 96. So it's complicated. And I just keep at it. I keep thinking I must be about at the end, and then something else shows up about it that I didn't realize. But yeah, in ways it happens. I'm wearing blue, and I'm not so sure about the square. I got to think about that. I'll have to ask my friends whether I'm square or not. Okay, one more round on about your conversations with Mother Earth. Meenakshi? Anything you want to share about your? By the way, as far as I'm concerned, these could be confidential. If you don't want to share them, that's fine. But it was part of the ceremony was to ask what we could do to make this a healthier planet. And so I thought we could talk about it, whatever people were willing to share. So yeah, your turn, Meenakshi.
Can I go last this time?
Sure, why not? As long as somebody else doesn't say they want to go last too. Randy?
For me, I would just ask Mother Earth, what I could do and what I have been doing in the past to help keep the streets and this park clean that I do, and it's just so just keep picking up the garbage and stop throwing my cigarette butts on the ground, and I've been really working on that hard. It's like, because that's such a stupid habit. And it's,
Hey, now I know they taught you in the military to field strip your cigarettes, right?
Yeah, piss on the military and trying to get away from that. So I'll stick to Mother Earth and put it. She's a lot nicer.
Yeah. Bless
so
you.
that was my conversation.
Hey. Okay. Teresa?
I think I already answered that question.
Oh, remind us of what your answer was. You ate the snake?
No, to be a guide for others. I kind of, needed more clarity a little bit, but it was all right. And the only other thing I do want to mention, and I don't remember if that was part of the Mother Earth or a different part, but I think this could help everyone, because I've been reminded of this several hundred times and I don't seem to get it, but I'm always reminded to ask for help. And I was reminded again to ask for help more often.
Okay.
I'm sure that's something that, is universal.
Indeed. Dennis?
I did not get a chance to ask.
Okay, fair enough. Meenakshi, you're last next to me.
It's just because I asked her if she, I've been a little conflicted about the Gaia Minute message. I've been conflicted about many things this month, because I've taken this as a time of self-reflection, and for so many years I've been sharing the Gaia Minute message, and she said just keep sharing that same message. So Mother Earth just opened her arms and just sort of embraced. And when I was in there, it was interesting for me, because that's when I felt the circle even more warm. It was very warm. It was a very warm feeling. And she said, just keep sharing the Gaia Minute message. It is very important to synchronize. It's very important to have a daily practice. No words are necessary, and not even a lot of time, but just for a little while in a regular way. Just be aware of this consciousness of Gaia, of oneness, in gratitude and love. So that's what she asked me to keep doing. Thank you.
I had a really strange reaction when I asked. I got a hug. That was unexpected, I have to tell you. I was thinking in far more left brain cognitive, and I didn't get any of that. I got a hug instead. So I'll have to chew on that one for a while to see. I have my friend John Danville keeps reminding me that there's a right side of my brain that I have to pay attention to once in a while. So maybe that was the message in the hug. I do have, I grew up with a great affection for the natural earth. I mean, even as a kid, we camped. And of course, I grew up in a combination suburb country in Santa Clara Valley. It was so many orchards and fields and places to play. They weren't wild. They weren't bush like in the Sierras or in Canada. But still, it was not concrete and asphalt either. It was good adobe clay and trees, and they were trees whether they were planted or not. There was something about them that was really great. So I've always had this affection, and even at very young, during the war, my grandfather would take us up to Big Basin where the redwoods are. That was California's first state park, and he'd leave us, and then he'd go to work. He was a real estate agent. And here, I'd be 5 and my brother'd be 3, and we'd be in the state park. And I'm sure he had words with the rangers and talked to them, but we were kids. We played with the crawdads and fed the deer and sat under the trees and kept the food locker locks away from the raccoons. I mean, I just grew up that way. It seemed like the most natural thing in the world. And that extended all through my adulthood, backpacking in the Sierras and Lassen and in the Tetons. rafting on the rivers, the Snake and the Columbia. So that, maybe the hug is just the Mother Earth hugging me back. I've always loved the planet. I had felt good about it. But still, I put in lawns and planted flowers that didn't grow there naturally and all that kind of stuff. Nowadays I grow moss because it is natural. Okay, so we got a few minutes. Just break out of the circle, say what you want to say, ask each other questions, and please comment on the value and anything is particularly any feedback you have that might improve the process. This is the first time I've tried guiding trips into etheric space on Zoom. Normally, I'm dealing with people who are hundreds and thousands of miles apart, and everybody's kind of got their own process. And we just agree to meet around a certain time, and then later share via email. So this is a really different process for me. Being in etheric space is the same, and the ceremonies are similar, but I'm curious about how this works and what could work better or did work well. So I'm going to open the door to just whatever people want to say in any particular order at all, including crosstalk.
I think, Isitua, that when we used to see how you did the ceremonies in the past, when you first would host, and you were there were no other hoop masters, and it was you. And then you would share a photo of you with the candles, how you lit a candle for each person. I think one of the things which I've liked a lot about the ceremonies is that for many of us who are used to meditating, but it's more of it's another kind of a metaphysical kind of an exercise. What I love about these ceremonies is that it brings it to the physical also. And when we did the etheric journeying, I would see that you can be there and here at the same time. For me, this was the most important. So maybe if you encourage us to maybe have a candle or make a little altar the way, I think that would make it even more powerful. That's just a feeling that I have.
Yeah, ceremonies, personal ceremonies always are helpful. A lot of people find them helpful. No? I had one question. It's like, I didn't seem to feel there was any problem with people dropping out and entering etheric space. I wondered about bringing people back. So I was experimenting with some music and just to see what would work and how long people needed to be in there, because normally that's not an issue. When we're not using Zoom, you could be in there all different times. Everybody could be in there very different times. But when we're all on Zoom,
Yeah.
Collecting us all together again, I discovered doing this evening that that's an issue. How do you coordinate coming back? So anyway, that was one of the things I have an issue with. Other comments? Teresa, you've been in etheric space ceremonies a lot with me. How is this different? And what do you observe about the difference between the way we used to do it in full moon and new moon and equinox and all the rest, and this particular methodology?
I guess the only difference was, your request to have Mother Earth like above the fire. That was different, but no, it was good. I think everything was good. Trying to think what else I was gonna say something. Only thing I would say is like, especially for the newcomers, of just, and I know you hesitate because you like everyone to be creative and to just do their own thing, I think, but I think maybe a few more instructions, maybe just like you were saying, well, did you see any animals or something? So maybe before the ceremony, you know, put that in, just put a few more thoughts possibly in people's heads, like, and when you're there, if there's any animal that comes to mind, you know, try to remember that, or, you know, maybe a few more guidance, a little more guidance perhaps, but if it's not necessary, but it's a thought. I'm just thinking out loud. I don't know. I'm just thinking of whatever comes to me.
No, it's an interesting point because I was comparing it mentally with guided meditation, which sort of is a step by step by step by step process,
Right.
versus you know, the ceremonies that we've been doing. And it occurred to me, it's kind of like a guided meditation is kind of like, okay, we're going to San Francisco. Now, first get in your car and we're going to go to the Asheville airport, and then we're going to go get through security, and then we're going to fly to Atlanta, and then we're going to transfer. That's how guided meditations are. They kind of take you step by step by step by step. And I'm inclined to say, meet you in San Francisco. Leave it to you to figure out how you're going to get there. And you're suggesting something in between, you know. And that's an important consideration.
Or just like more ideas, like on your sheet. Yeah, it was beautiful. I liked having the sheet ahead of time and giving us guidance, and you just maybe add a couple more lines to the sheet if possible, but it doesn't have to. It was fine the way it was. It was beautiful. And I never ever had experienced anyone, at least not in my mind, that had trouble getting back. I was surprised you said that.
It wasn't trouble getting back. It was trouble coordinating all getting back at more or less the same time.
That's what you meant. Okay.
Yeah. Because we're on an hour trip, more or less, and we needed time for discussion. And you know, I've been stayed in sacred space ceremony sometimes for an hour or two or three, and it didn't matter when we were doing it the other way. But with Zoom, we've got this kind of limit that it's a meeting, right?
And then I was sort of like next to Randall, and then I was thinking if I should do more interfering or just leave him alone. And once he was happy, I kind of just left him alone. I wasn't sure if I should check in on him more. Or, yeah, it's just, I guess, play by play. You just see how it goes.
One thing you might try that John Vanvold speaks of as highly effective is tugging on Randy's beard.
That's what I needed to do. Of course. What was I thinking? Yes. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. I love it. I definitely appreciate the guidance. Yes, Randall, next time we're going to be doing this again, Randall. Don't worry. Next time I'll get it down. We'll get there, Randall. Don't you worry.
All right, the beard tug always brings me in.
I'm gonna try that. I swear. Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. Yeah, that's the other thing you need to do. Write down on there. Do not take life too seriously. Laugh during this. Absolutely, we definitely need that in all ceremonies. I love it. Oh my God, I love it. That's beautiful.
Tanis, this is the first time I think we've actually been in the same Zoom meeting, isn't it? Or maybe the first or second.
In this date, yeah, the first.
Yeah, I would especially appreciate any feedback you have, being that you really have no background with me, which makes your perceptions less tainted by previous experience.
I really enjoyed the whole process, all different aspects of it. I enjoy the silence as much as I enjoy the music. Perhaps introducing a little bit more music would have helped some, I think. But I think overall it was a great experience. I just felt maybe you brought us back a little early at the beginning. I would have
Ah.
preferred a little bit more of a space. I guess that's why I didn't have the chance to finish the tasks at hand. But that's just my take on it. I think I think you held space wonderfully and walked us through the different steps. I had no issue coming back or going into space. I would have enjoyed a little bit more time in space though.
Cool. I appreciate that. Yeah, and I was uncertain, frankly, about how to bring it back. I mentioned that. It's after I came back, I'm watching the clock right at the bottom of the computer screen. You know, it's 8:22. It's or 7:22. It's 7:23. It's 7:26. Is everybody just gone to sleep? You know. So that's a really helpful comment. You know, when we do meditations in person in circles, there were always signals when you were done. People could raise their hand or open their eyes, or they could do something that let you know that they had come back. And generally speaking, people were pretty much in sync. But obviously, turning your video back on was not a good sync symbol, you know, and it didn't function well as to let other people know you were back, because they were all off. So
Can I make a suggestion? There's a reactions button. You see, look at my picture now.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a way to signal to you that we're back.
Oh, I never see that except on the participants list. I didn't know you could do that there.
Yeah, so we can go like this, you see?
Where did you find it?
There's a reactions button in the bottom of the screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I like it. Yeah. Okay. Good idea. Do you think it would be too distracting to just leave the videos on?
No.
Uh-huh. I mean, I only turned them off because I made an assumption that it would be difficult for some people to go into space and still have people on the screens watching them.
Who's sitting there looking at your video when you're in etheric space? Is there really people doing that? I mean, don't you put your phone down?
Well, I don't have a phone. I have a screen. It's about 22 inches across.
Oh, that's the difference. Now that makes more sense. Thank you for saying that. I was thinking of okay, gotcha.
All right. Well, it's I've got three more meetings this month on Mondays, and they will probably all involve some trips to etheric space. I'm not absolutely certain of that, but I've been thinking about the waters, healing the waters, or blessing the waters, whichever your point of view is. My wife likes to watch television of real crimes, right? Real crimes. And there's a whole series of ones that the crimes that aren't solved. They don't know who did the deed, the dirty deed. All they have is the body. And this one, a tourist disappeared, and she was in a rather inexpensive hotel in downtown Los Angeles. And when the customers or the residents in the hotel started complaining about the water, they discovered that she had been thrown into one of the water tanks that fed the hotel's water, and people had been drinking it and brushing their teeth and all those kinds of things. And I thought, boy, do we need a water blessing, because it doesn't get much yuckier than that. No, it just doesn't. All right, well, we missed 8:08. I'm sorry.
I didn't. I saw it, and I almost did something, and then I didn't.
I saw it too.
All right, so I'm going to say goodnight, all, or I'm going to invite you, unless you have questions. I can stick around for a bit longer, but feel free to leave if you've got other things to do.